This webinar was recorded for subrecipients of the Tennessee Strong Families Grant on August 20th, 2025. Brittany Joy Hill, MHAT Coordinator from Family and Children's Services, was our subject matter expert presenter. The training was designed to help subrecipients recognize the warning signs of suicide, know how to get help for someone experiencing a mental health crisis, and offer them hope, and to learn how to apply emergency mental health intervention for expecting and postpartum parents. The slides and reference materials are posted on our webpage for your reference and review.
Today we're going to be learning about QPR from Brittany Joy Hill. She's been with Family and Children's Services for 5 years. She worked the crisis line for 4 years and spent the last year as the Mental Health Awareness Training Project Coordinator. She loves people, shoes, and teaching. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Brittany. Thanks for being here with us today.
Afternoon. It is a pleasure and an honor to join you all today. As she stated, I have been in this role for a year, but we'll get right into it. I do want to be courteous of you all's time. I do understand we all have families and we all have other things that we are obligated to do. So let's get right into it. And I also want to make sure you get all of the material that you need. During any time during this training or this session, if you have a question, as stated, just pop it in the chat. We'll circle back around to it. This is a pretty brief training, so we should have time on the back end to come in and answer some of those questions out loud, if that's okay with everybody. Sounds good. We'll go right ahead and get started. Welcome to QPR Institute, and this simply means question, persuade, and refer. You can go back to that. Yep, there you go. As she stated, my name is Brittany Joy. I'm the MHAT Project Coordinator, which is short for Mental Health Awareness Training Project Coordinator. I know such a long title, so we'll just abbreviate that there. So for any reason, should you need some resources, 988 is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline number. We used to have a local number for the state of Tennessee. However, we have phased that out, and we are completely going to rely on 988. It will still get you the same results, and it will still get you the same help that you're needing in the state of Tennessee. It's just an easier way for people to find assistance quicker instead of trying to remember a local number or a long 1-800 number. Now, for many people, talking about suicide is not an easy thing, which we know that is a subject that is usually kind of pushed to the side or swept under a rug. Some of us may be loss survivors or attempt survivors. Preventionists often experience compassion fatigue and may be more susceptible to the impact of suicide. Please monitor yourselves closely and seek help if needed. If anything that's being said during this training is a bit much for you, please do not hesitate to step away for a second. Our priority is not only to teach you the information, but to make sure you're able to take care of yourself. And self-care is always going to be most important. All right, our learning objectives. We're going to make sure that we are increasing awareness of stigma and understand suicide as a public health issue. This is not a socioeconomic issue. It's not a religious issue or any of those things. This is a public issue. How are we going to recognize someone who is at risk for suicide? How to question, persuade, and refer someone who may be suicidal? How to access local and national referral resources? And how to offer hope and save lives. All right. What is the purpose of QPR? QPR is not intended to be a form of counseling or treatment. So let's make sure that we notate that I will not be teaching you how to diagnose or how to treat someone. I'm simply giving you a tool of assistance. We'll move forward. QPR is intended to offer hope through positive action. And that's something that we want to remember throughout this training. We are here to offer hope. All right, let's do some QPR suicide myths and facts. If you are able and you know how to do a thumbs up for a response, we'll use that method so that people can respond. If you believe this to be a fact, give me a thumbs up. If you believe it to be a myth, you will give me a thumbs down. No one can stop a suicide. It is inevitable. Myth or fact? Myth, thumbs down. Fact, thumbs up. Absolutely correct. It is a myth. The fact is, if people in a crisis get the help they need, they may never be suicidal again. Asking a person about suicide will only make them angry and increase the risk of suicide. Myth or fact? All right, I see the thumbs down. We're all going with a myth. Let's see. Let's go to the next slide. You all are absolutely correct. That is a myth. The fact is, asking someone directly about suicidal intent actually lowers their anxiety. It opens up communication and lowers the risk of a suicide attempt. It gives the person a little bit of relief. It's going to it's going to say, hey, someone has noticed something different. Somebody has taken time to acknowledge something different. So maybe they have a resource for me, and maybe I can trust them to actually let them in. Only experts can prevent a suicide. You're right. I see the thumbs down. It is a complete myth. Suicide prevention is everybody's business, and anyone can help prevent a tragedy of suicide. Don't think because you don't have a certificate or you don't have a license that you cannot step in and help someone to change this life-altering decision. Most people considering suicide communicate their intent sometime during the week of the week preceding their attempt. Myth or fact? Let's see. It is indeed a fact. Remember, fact, we're gonna go thumbs up. Myth, we're gonna go thumbs down. Great. It is a fact. Most people considering suicide communicate their intent. And we'll go through this and you'll see the ways that they communicate their intent and how sometimes they can be easily overlooking. The myth is people considering suicide keep the things to themselves. Sometimes we may consider that to be true. However, if we take a step back and then we look at the things that they show us and the signs they show us, you'll notice, hey, they were showing these signs. Hey, we did get a clue prior to. There are small instances where someone will not give any alerts that something is happening because it is an impulsive decision. So there is a small case to where sometimes they don't say anything. They go ahead and continue with their thought of the act. People who talk about suicide may try or even attempt as an act of self-destruction. Myth or fact? Now, this can be a tough one. This is one of those things. They think if you talk about it, hey, you're not going to do it. Or if you do, you will. Let's be honest. Those who talk about it do not do it. That is definitely not the truth. If they're talking about it, there's something in there that is saying, hey, I need help. Hey, something is not quite right. So let's pay attention. Let's chime in. Here we go. Once a person decides to die by suicide, there is nothing anyone can do to stop them. Myth or fact? Okay, I see some myths. Let's see. It is completely a myth. Suicide is the most preventable kind of death and is almost any position of action can save a life. As I stated before, there are those small cases where once the person makes up their mind, there's absolutely nothing you can do to change it. But in most cases, once you step in, they do make a different decision. However, please do not be discouraged if you're helping someone and while they're with you, they stay safe. And then when they go home and 3 hours later, they make another decision, do not be discouraged. You did what you were supposed to do. Your job is to keep them safe at that moment while they are with you and to give them hope to live beyond that moment. So at any moment, they can sit back and reconsider those options. But it is your job to make sure that while they are with you, while you have the resources, you can step in and help make a different decision. All right, let's talk about ways that we can help. Simply ask the question, and we'll move through these pretty quickly. Suicide clues and warning signs. This is where we get into those things where we say, hey, well, I could have paid attention just a little bit more. These are a few clues. Now, some of them will be repetitive, but they're repetitive for a reason. First and foremost, we're going to make sure we take all signs seriously. The more clues and the more signs observed, the greater the risk. Just because they're doing a lot of over the top things, that doesn't always mean they're looking for attention just for the sake of attention. They could generally be crying out for help. All right, so we're going to learn 4 different ways that people show signs and clues of suicidal behavior. Their direct verbal clues, their indirect verbal clues, their behavioral clues, and then their situational clues. And we're going to give some examples about what each of those are. All right, let's talk about some direct clues. If you're in your chat, you could go to the chat and tell me what you think a direct clue is, or if you would like to unmute yourself, you can definitely do that. So when they are looking at it later, they can actually see interaction. So if the chat works better, let's take that option. Exactly. They flat out say they don't want to live anymore. And some people say that's a very childish question to ask. What is a direct verbal clue? But you'll be surprised how many people don't know what that means. They'll just say, oh, they say life is hard. Yes, it's direct, but does it really express the intent for anything else? You can click through it a few times because it's just going to give you more lines. Yes, ma'am. All right, some direct verbal clues. I have decided to kill myself. I wish I were dead. I'm going to commit suicide. I'm going to end it all. If such and such doesn't happen, I'll kill myself. I am going to pause here. The third one says, I'm going to commit suicide. In the advocacy world, we no longer use the word commit because when you hear the word commit in most communities, it is criminalized, it's penalized. You don't really hear commit too many times in a positive light, even though you could be in a committed relationship. You could be committed to your job. However, when you hear that word and results to people's behaviors, it doesn't give a positive note behind it. So we don't want to criminalize anyone that's feeling that way because they are still a person. So instead of saying, instead of using the word commit, we'll say completed or died by. So that's just a little note. So if you say commit and someone gets offended, it's just because it's been criminalized for such a long time. And it's now kind of one of those words. It's like, ouch. All right. Let's talk about indirect verbal clues. We talked about direct verbal clues, simply saying, hey, I want to kill myself. What do you think the indirect clue would be? All right. And I see some of you in the chat have already jumped on it. I can't deal with life anymore. I'm hopeless. I don't see a reason or purpose for living anymore. You guys are right on it. I'm tired of life. I just can't go on. My family will be better off without me. Who cares if I'm dead anyway? And let's think about it. There are times that we've heard these things and we laugh about it and joke about it and just go right ahead. But these are some of those clues that let you know that someone is reaching a boiling point. Someone is reaching the end of the rope. I just want out. I won't be around much longer. Pretty soon, you won't have to worry about me. Has anyone heard any of these things before and just kind of brushed it over? Sad to say, but I have. So now I'm able to pay attention a little bit more. Let's look at some behavioral clues. And most people say, hey, that only deals with children. No, let's talk about some things in their adult lives that we tend to see that we just overlook.
I think too, before you move on, Brittany, some of the things from the previous page, it's hard to know what to say back to someone. And so maybe that's why people aren't necessarily brushing over, but how do you respond to some of those things, I think.
Yes, let's see. I can say yes, it's hard to respond to some of those things. The one thing I tell people now after this training is you will learn how to be direct. You will learn how to come right out and ask the question. And it's great that you come out and ask the question because it's nothing, and always prepare to hear a yes if you ask the question. It's nothing worse than someone asking you something and you're stuck and it's in a vital moment. We're so used to saying, hey, how you doing? Everybody says, okay, and we go on about our day, right? But what if someone says, my day is terrible today. I just had enough. And you stop and go, you know what? Hey, our office is in the same direction. Let's walk and talk. What's going on? Versus, man, me too. And then you go the other way, right? There's a different feel behind it. There's a care, there's a concern. And we kind of have to use those things, the nurturing side, when we get those responses of, I've had enough, or I just don't want to be here anymore. So we'll jump right back into it with the behavioral clues. Any previous suicide attempt is always going to be something to keep in the back of your mind. That does not mean they're going to make another attempt, but the chances are it could be higher than someone who has never made an attempt, especially if they have not used the resources or acquired resources to navigate through those feelings. The second thing you want to look at, anyone acquiring a gun or stockpiling medication, co-occurring depression, moodiness, or hopelessness, putting personal affairs in order, things who people who usually just don't care, they kind of live day by day, but now they have arrangements made. They have a will now in place, and it's not just the adult side of it. Oh, I'm an adult. I need to have these things in place in case something happens. It's those sudden movements of things. They usually say, "Oh, I'll get to it. I'll get to it," and then today they come and say, "Hey, here's my will if anything happens." And it's like, whoa. So those are the kind of things we kind of want to pay attention to. And it could just be something else happened in life, and they said, "You know what? I need to get it together." But this is one of those flags that you want to start to open up your eyes and ears just a little bit more. Giving away their prized possessions. Someone in the chat said giving away their things. You're absolutely right, especially things of great value to them. Their favorite car, their animal, um, jewelry of significance, things of that nature. Not just I don't like this t-shirt, I'm gonna give it away. But things that hold value for the person. There's sudden interest or disinterest in a religion or group of faith, drug or alcohol abuse, or a relapse after a period of recovery. The relapse after recovery can sometimes be very hard because people feel as though they have worked hard to be in recovery, and that one slip up can seem like it's a forever thing. I do enjoy telling people this: every day is a new day. I trip off my feet all the time, but it's a matter of getting back up. They say that's a little different. It can be, but remind yourself you can always start over. There's always another day one. There's always another chance to get it together. We don't always make the best choices day by day, but guess what? You have another minute that you didn't relapse. We've been talking 10 minutes now and you're sober. You're back on the right track. So use those small things to remind them of reasons to continue and not to be so hard on themselves, to give themselves grace. Unexplained anger and aggression and irritability. If you notice, Stacy's usually very cheerful, and the last couple days she's been very snappy. Maybe someone should take the time and say, "Hey, I've noticed you've been a little upset lately, or you haven't quite been yourself. Is something going on? You want to talk about it?" If she says no at that moment, hey, don't push her. Say, "You know what? I understand. But if you want to talk about it later, let me know, and then maybe we can get together and we'll sit down." Don't overpromise yourself, but make it available to where when they're ready to talk, you're able to be there. Now, let's talk about situational clues. Anybody want to take a good guess at what the situational clues can be? Major life event, divorce, loss of a job, breakup. Absolutely, you're right on it. Um, Previous suicide attempt, we'll always see that in any of these categories. The next one be being fired or expelled from school. No one wants that, right? What a life-changing decision. And sometimes there are consequences that comes behind that. A recent or unwanted move, we found out with children whose parents are moving because of jobs, or even in military families, the children don't really get a say so in their move. And when they move, that's another battle that they fight. Although parents are like, you'll adjust just fine, you'll find new friends. Yes, they generally will, but it's a matter of the type of friends that they find and what they have to endure to establish those friendships. So sometimes as parents or adults, we make big things like that so small for children or other people that are involved, but it is something mind altering because there's a new adjustment that must take place. And they have to reestablish themselves as well as, learn a new environment. So that's something to keep in mind. A loss of a major relationship. That is one of the biggest things. Like I told you, I worked for the crisis line for 4 years, and talking to teens, this is one thing that we see quite often. My boyfriend broke up with me and I've had enough. There's nobody else for me. What am I going to do? Life is over. But what do you do when those things happen? How do you respond to those people? I would usually say, I know when I broke up with somebody, this is what I did. It's the worst thing you could do. You take away yet another choice that they have. Say, hey, I know a breakup is hard. It's okay for you to be upset. You want to talk about why you're upset? Give them the space to create the environment to talk about the breakup so it doesn't seem forced and you're not telling them how to handle the breakup. It's nothing worse than your feelings being hurt and somebody telling you what to do with the feelings that you have left. The death of a spouse, child, or best friend, especially if by suicide. As I stated earlier, when they make these choices, it's hard on the people around them. And you have to take it's a hard pill to swallow, but at the end of the day, it is their decision. It's not that you weren't a good friend. It's not that you weren't loving enough or you weren't supportive enough. It's a decision that at the end of the day is ultimately theirs. We'll do what we can to change it. Like I said, your job is to keep them safe at that moment. And hopefully, with all the positive behaviors that you guys are going to be giving them, that will change their mind and then will ultimately get rid of the suicidal phase in their life. Do we have a diagnosis of a serious or terminal illness, sudden, unexpected loss of freedom, or fear of punishment? Those two are big. When you look at people with a serious or terminal illness, Some have said that they prefer it be on their own terms. So that's something else for you to kind of sit on. Wow, they don't want to go on someone else's time, or we can do this to prolong or this or that. They want it to be on their own terms, their own will. They want life to be life. And it's hard to have life be life when you're dealing with the terminal illness. And then also, some of them have said they don't want to be a burden to their family. So during this time, when you notice these things are happening, make sure you're checking in. Hey, it's no problem at all. I don't mind sitting here. I don't mind talking to you. I have I have time. Let's do it. Let's make sure we're making them all feel comfortable to where they value the time that they have with you. And then the anticipated loss of financial security and the loss of a cherished therapist, counselor, or teacher, all both things that can be a hard pill to swallow. There's nothing like losing your finances when you thought you've had it all lined up and you worked so hard. And then it's like, well, what do I do next? It's the panic of the what do I do next? So now that we've seen all of those behavioral clues and things that we see, and we've talked about some ways we can respond, let's get to the nitty gritty part of it. The 3-step intervention plan: question, persuade, and refer. Question is going to be an approach, and it's both direct and indirect. And you want to identify questions that you should not ask. Persuade. How do you persuade someone to stay alive? And then refer. How and to whom will you refer the person you just helped? What is your handoff? Do you have someone that can pick them up and take them to their sessions? Do you have someone who you can call on the phone and get them on the phone and then hand them the phone? What does that look like? Question, asking the question. Asking the question is going to save a life. I will tell you, go ahead with the next slide. I will tell you that asking the question is hard. It gives you a little lump in your throat, when it's hard to swallow, when somebody tells you something unsettling and you just try to sit there and kind of pretend that you're digesting it. You're going to get that feeling every time. But that does not mean you should not ask. Okay? Tips for asking. If in doubt, don't wait, ask the question. It could lead to a follow-up question. Why would you ask me that? Is something different about me? Have you noticed something? There's an opening for you to have a conversation about what made you ask the question. If a person is reluctant, be persistent. Oh, girl, don't worry about me. No, are you thinking about killing yourself? That day yesterday was so hard. So let me tell you about my day tomorrow. I have planned. That's great to hear about your day tomorrow. Are you thinking of killing yourself? So we want to make sure we're asking, but then they may give clues to say, hey, it's just a rough day. The next one, you want to talk to the person alone and in a private setting. And I'm sure you all can understand why you want to do this in a private setting. I am a very transparent person. I can sit here on Zoom and go, hey, y'all, I don't drive in thunderstorms because I have panic attacks and I don't like it. However, someone else may not feel the same way. It may be the exact same thing. They may just be standing at the door looking at the thunderstorm and rain and just standing there. And you pull them to the side and say, hey, are you okay? Hey, yeah, I can't drive in the rain. I'm froze. That feels much better to have someone say, hey, you know what? Let me walk you to a chair. Let me stand here next to you. That feels much better. That feels very personal. It feels very much like someone cares. That shows some compassion versus me waiting for you to get by the door when everybody's rushing out going, hey, you still standing here? You better get on out there. That does something different to a person. And then once you get that opportunity and you talk to them privately, let's make sure we allow the person to talk freely. Let them say it. If they have colorful words, let them use them because this may be the only chance that they are able to actually express what they are truly feeling. Then, after you do that, make sure you give yourself time. If you see that someone is upset at 3:05 and you clock out at 3:10, do you think it's best that you stop at 3:05 and try to sort out a situation with them? Are you going to say, you know what, I'll stay till 4 o'clock till we get this figured out? Or are you going to be like, are you all right? Well, I'm off in 5 minutes. We'll talk about it tomorrow. It wouldn't feel so great, right? You're like, why'd you stop and ask me if you had somewhere to go? So make sure when we're doing these things, we have time to actually talk and give them the space for what is truly needed. Make sure you have your resources handy. I'll send something to you. Anything that you may have, any other counselors, any resources such as the Tennessee Red Line, 988, children, youth villages, family and children services. Have you a catalog, build your catalog to say, hey, listen, this place offers free counseling. This place can help you get clothing. This place can help you find a job. So make sure you have these resources because you never know what the answer would be to why somebody is at their last. Now, remember how to ask the question is less important than you actually asking it. The question. The less direct approach would be happy lately. Then you'll go to have you been very unhappy lately? And then just a little further away, have you been so very unhappy lately that you've been thinking about ending your life? Do you ever wish you could go to sleep and never wake up again? Wasn't really sure what the answer would be or what you would say, depending on what answer you got. You know, when people are as upset as you seem to be, they sometimes wish they were dead. I'm wondering if you're feeling that way too. I'm worried about you. I wonder if you're thinking about suicide. These are all very, very direct questions. And then the most important, but the hardest one to ask, are you thinking about killing yourself? Now, here's the important part. If you cannot ask this question, find someone who can. If you cannot ask the question, but you are standing next to a coworker who may not be busy, you take the person with you. Say, hey, let's go over here and talk to my friend Stacy. Hey, Stacy, we're having some issues. Or you can just go to your coworker and say, hey, I need to ask this question, but I don't have it. My capacity today is below capacity. Can you ask this question for me? Can I bring you in so we can work this together? And then they may say, no, I don't have time. But guess what? At that point, do what you can do and make sure you're asking. You don't want to let the moment go away when you do not ask this question. Okay? Now, the wrong way to ask the questions. You may think nobody ever responds like this, but I worked on a crisis line for 4 years. I promise you they do. I promise you they do. We just want to make sure it's not you, okay? All right, let's go with these questions. How not to ask. You're not thinking of killing yourself, are you? You wouldn't do anything stupid like that, would you? Suicide is a dumb idea. Surely you're not thinking about suicide. Now let's pause right there. If someone asks you the question in any of those three ways, any of them, would you respond? You can give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. I'll be honest with you. I probably won't have much of anything to say, right? I'm thumbs up, we don't have nothing to talk about. You're absolutely right. Or they're just gonna be like, what? But that's not, it doesn't make me feel like you want to help because you've already judged me before I even got to answer your question, right? And I like the nonverbal clues, the head nods, and the tilts. Thank you. You guys make me feel really good. It helps me. All right, let's talk about persuasion. Persuading someone to stay alive. Let's listen to the problem and give them your full attention. That means we have to put our phone down, we got to put our watches down, and make sure we're being very intentional about it. Remember, suicide is not the problem, it's only the solution to a perceived insoluble problem. So there's something underlined that's causing them to be in this place. And suicide happens to be what they perceive to be a solution. Can we change the equation? Do not rush to judgment. I know we all have our own personal views about things, but at this point, your personal view doesn't matter. Okay? Your job is to make sure they are safe and offer them hope in any form. If you notice on their calendar they have a big event happening on Friday, remind them, hey, remember we have that big community event on Friday? I'm so looking forward to working with you. We had such a blast last year. This year we get to do bigger, we get to do better. And they say, yeah, I can't wait till Friday either. Unknowingly, you just gave this person a reason to wait till Friday. Friday, I gotta be here. Somebody, I can do something well that somebody needs me in this space. It makes you feel good to feel like you have a skill that somebody can use and they feel like only you have it. So that's a great thing. Ask, will you go with me to get help? Will you let me help you get help? What can we do to keep you safe for now? So we'll go back to ask really quickly. You'll ask, how do these things play out? I gave you an example earlier when someone's talking and you say, hey, can we walk over here and talk to Stacy and let's get her some help? Another example, you're helping a client and they say, I don't have resources for milk. I don't have resources for diapers. I at this point, I just don't. But you're in a building where you have other resources there. You can say, hey, you know what? Walk with me. I'm going to walk you down to our diaper storage and I'm going to introduce you to Miss Tammy, and she handles all of our diaper resources. That's how that's how they let you help them. They let you take them and then they let you hand them over. You say, hey, this is Miss Tammy. She's really great. She checks in and we're going to make sure we get what you need before you leave here today. Is that okay, Miss Tammy? You all agree? Now you have created a resource system for your client. They not only know they have you, they now know they have a partner that deals with the diapers. And then maybe when they're done, diapers can partner them with formula. So now you've given them three vital resources that can take the stress off of what could be making a life altering decision. And then also asking, what can you do to keep them safe for now? Is always going to be critical. Now, referring, you just did it when you said, hey, can I help you get help? Can I go with you to get help? People living with suicidal thoughts often believe they cannot be helped, so you may have to do a little more. This may be that let me walk you this way. Let's call your resource of assistance. Everyone doesn't like therapy. Everyone doesn't have a religious leader. Everyone doesn't have a best friend. Maybe it's the Starbucks lady that take her order every morning. Hey, do you have her number? Can we call her? Once she gets on the phone, I'll give you the phone. I'll back away. You all can have your own conversation. That's going a little bit further, but you're still not so wrapped into it that they become dependent on you. Let's talk about some referral options. We have three options. You can get all three on the screen for me. The first option is the best referrals involves taking the person directly to someone who can help. Take them there yourself. You know they got there and you know they know the person they're looking for and you know they're going to get the help. The next best referral is getting a person to commit from the time they accept help to the time they're making arrangements, right? Anybody ever been to the airport? You know, you go to the counter, you get your ticket, and they go to the right, take 3 steps to the left, and then get in the long line. That's TSA. It'll get you through the door, right? You gave me the resource to get through TSA, but how would it felt if you had actually walked me over there? Because you've given me 5 directions, I might have took a left turn and I should have taken a right turn. I may circle back and get there. It was a great resource, but that wouldn't be your first option, right? And then the last option would be give them the information and try to get good faith commitment that they won't make an attempt. That is, here go phone number, call them. I left my suitcase and I don't know how much it weighs. Put it over there, it'll tell you, and then bring it back over here and I'll check it in. So we have to make sure that we're using the best resource at that moment. Okay. Now, any willingness to accept help at some time, even if it's in the future, is a good outcome. If they say, hey, I don't want to get in line today and wait for diapers, I don't want to come up here tomorrow and get milk, I can't come until Thursday. I can't come till Friday at 12. Guess what? You know what? That's fine. What size do you need? What formula do we use? So Friday at 12, we'll be waiting for you. We'll be expecting you. That's a good sign because now you have them committed till Friday. You have them committed to that time. That gives them a brighter look at the future. Hey, I don't have to stress anymore because I know on Friday my child's gonna have diapers. On Friday, I know I'm gonna have formula. And as a parent, those are things that are critical, right? When you become a parent, your first go-to is the child's need, not always your own. So being able to say, okay, you know what, I'll find help. It's always a good thing. We also want to remember since almost all efforts to persuade someone to live instead of attempt suicide will be met with an agreement and relief. Don't hesitate to get involved or take the lead. Now, this is at your own leisure. You may not always be able to walk them hand in hand down the road of recovery. You may not be able to do that. You may only be able to get them to their first session. And once you get them to that first session, you may have to hand over the ranks, which is totally fine. Get involved as you need to for as long as you can. And also remember, just because you're helping someone doesn't mean you have to um, neglect your own personal needs of self care. You can't pour water into a cup if your cup is empty. We'll look at some pro tips for effective QPR. Offer encouragement. What does that look like? I want you to live. I'm on your side. We'll get through this. Get others involved. Let's ask while we're talking, hey, who else can help? Who do you trust? Is it family, a friend, a brother, a sister, pastor, priest, rabbi, imam, bishop, physician, their pet, guinea pig, whomever it may be? What's your resource for you? Do you just like to walk your dog and that's all you need? Hey, well, you know what? Do it. Go home, walk your dog. Give them an extra block if you need to, because that also helps you. More tips. Get them to join a team. Offer to work with their clergy, therapist, psychiatrist, or whomever is going to provide the counseling or treatment. Help them get a team. If they say, hey, you say, you know what? I just want you to reach out to somebody. And when you reach out, let me know you reached out. It may not be a, hey, can you come to the first thing for me? Can you? It may simply be, you know what? You did it. I'm proud of you. Thanks for reaching out. If you need me in the future with other resources, come back and see me. I'll see what we can do and we'll get you where you need to go. Follow up with a visit, a phone call, a card, whatever it may be, whatever you feel comfortable doing. You see them in the office and pass, you go, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. You're looking good. That feels good. You cared. You came back. You took time out of your day. And it didn't take you but 30 seconds. Send them a text. Hey, crossed my mind. I hope you're feeling better. You want to remember that your QPR, when you apply that, it's like a plant. You plant a seed of hope. You help them find reason to continue. And hope is always going to be the thing that helps prevent suicide. All right. There we go. So everyone has your phone. If you would please, ma'am, please, sir, please look at that survey for me. I will greatly appreciate it. And then once we get that done, you all will be completed.